Welcome to Chat with Maier. This is our very first talk show that we're doing, and we're at a special place here. I know you can't tell where we are. Maybe some of you could figure it out. Bonus points to those that can. You see a blackboard behind me, maybe, an eraser. So we are at a school. We're actually at IEGS. We have some special guests today who we will introduce soon. But this is where I started my work as a school counselor here in Sweden. So it's kind of a special first episode, coming back here and getting the chance to do our first show. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about. We thought it would be fun to talk about what challenges students face in today's schools. And I'm not that old, but I know I had challenges back when I was a student. I know Mrs. Gavin, who you're going to get introduced to soon, did as well. But I think for Kate and for Emma here, I think things are a little different these days. But enough about that. Let me introduce you to my co-guru, as she likes to be called. Co-host, co-guru, Emma. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Mr. Maier. My name is Emma. I'm a third-year student at IEGS, and I like farm animals a lot, and I like to spend time with my friends, and I like to do weird stuff like this, and I'm very happy to be here. And I also have the honour to introduce our student health and care coordinator, Mrs. Gavin, student care coordinator, Mrs. Gavin, and another third-year student at the school, Kate.
And we have, some questions. We wanted to chat with these guys. I think they both have a lot of insight, some interesting perspective on what makes education, school, whatever we want to call it, really tough for kids these days. So I think from Mrs. Gavin's perspective, she gets to experience all the issues coming across the table as the student care coordinator, and kind of having an inside idea what's going on in the school. And Kate, I think you know probably way more than any teacher, or as far as at least that's how I experienced it when I worked in the school. A lot of times the students kind of knew a bit more what was going on sometimes, as far as what students were coping with, what was really hard, and sometimes more so than teachers. So we thought it would be really fun to have you guys here and hear from you guys. So what would you say, Mrs. Gavin, is some of the bigger challenges that you see come across the student care team's desk as far as?
I think some of the biggest challenges, it depends on what program students are doing, and of course every student, we're all different. But the biggest thing I felt really is stress, anxiety, coping with exams, coping with everything as well as school. And also for a lot of students, it comes down to motivation. There's a lot of students who feel they haven't got the motivation to get to where they want to go, and they're looking at how to find that motivation, and it's not something that you can just get off a shelf and give to someone, and it's not something you can always find yourself. You need help doing it. But I think those are the two big things really that a lot of students find really difficult, regardless of what course they're on, what year they're on. We have dips, we have times where we feel good, times where we don't feel so good. But when we're feeling down, it's getting that, how to get out of that rut to keep going, and find the willpower to do it. So that's, at the moment, I'd say those are the two biggest areas. What do you think, Kate?
I think for me anyways, the biggest problem would be to like balance your personal life and school life, and trying to like get everything in working like in a schedule, and like not really, but like getting the right amount of time to be spent on things. And like it's managing stress and, as Gavin said, like anxiety as well, because when you're out of sync and like out of balance, you always feel that you should be doing something instead, and like you're trying to fix things that are out of your control.
Mrs. Gavin, what would you recommend a student who is struggling doing? Who would they contact, or what should they do?
First of all, for students, they've got the mentor that they can talk to. There's me, the student care coordinator. Also, in the student development and health team, we've got a school kurator. We've got the student nurse. We've got the student coach, and also other students. There's some super students in here that do peer mentoring. And some students do peer mentoring without realising that they're doing it, they're just being a friend. So there's, we connect with people in different ways. But I know as far as my role is concerned, one thing I can do is signpost people in the direction that they can get the best help that they can for them. Because it's very rare that you can just have one person that fits all.
And it's funny that you asked that question, because that's why I thought of you as someone that would be excellent for the show. I mean, when I was here, Emma was such a helpful student to other students. I think you were, always reaching out and helping people. So I think that's a big part of probably what maybe helps students get through. Would you agree, Kate? Like what Mrs. Gavin said?
Definitely.
Not just the staff, but having the support from each other.
Yeah, because if you have people your own age, they can relate to you in different ways that the teacher can't. Because, age boundaries and the different things that might be going on within the family. And you have the same or similar experiences of school because you might have the same workload. Or so I think it's really good that there is peer mentoring.
I think one thing that really works for students when they're studying is when they work together in groups. Forming study groups. When it's right, it works really, really well. But you have to get it right. And I think that's one thing that we need to, as teachers and as adults within the school, that's one thing we can do a lot of more work with students, is getting the peer mentoring working, getting students working together in study groups when they're focused and they plan what they're going to study, and then you've got that support mechanism. And as Kate said, you've got like issues that you're working with, but there'll be different strengths in the group that you can draw on. So I think when we have these dips, we have the motivation issues, we're finding things stressful, we can often look to the people around us as a source of inspiration and support. And that's where we come down to, when you surround yourself with positive people, that effect can be really...
powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And likewise, if you're with each other, bringing each other down, it's very hard to lift yourself, to lift yourselves back up. So, I think as a student coordinator, my role is to help find the right pathways for people to get support. I haven't got the answers for every student. Mentors, teachers haven't got the answers for everybody.
But I think that's such a good point, though, and I hope people watching, not only students are watching, and get some insight from you, Kate, but also people that work in schools might see that and get the idea of, we got resources right there that maybe we're not connecting with. The students themselves could do so much to really help each other. So I really hope that they get that message from you, because I see you doing a lot of that. Like the peer leadership, I think it's really good. Isn't she good at that stuff? Right? She is. She really gets people together. I think that works. That's what schools need.
What about the students who are not actually struggling in school or with school, but are still having a really tough time with life in general, what should they do?
Mm.
Similar. It's, all schools have student development or student health teams, their lead health stuff, depends on which school you're at, but you will have a school curator, school nurse, teacher as mentors. Teachers are human, and I know all students connect with some teachers more than others, and they're often the people that they can go and talk to. But I think for some students it's helping them to know when they need to find that support. We often don't find it and look for it until it's too late, or someone else notices. And so I think for a school's responsibility, it's certainly that we need to give you the chance to educate you and help you to learn a lot about who you are, and to understand and to recognise that things aren't always going to go well, but when they don't, what you can do to find help, how you can help yourselves, how you can help each other. So I think that's one thing, it's our responsibility as a school to support you with.
That's an interesting, actually it's a good point, because I wanted to ask Kate, do you think students have a difficult time acknowledging that they might need help? And if they do they find it hard asking people for help? Do you think that is kind of part of it? Like, even if they're having some issues, they think they might be judged or criticized, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is realizing that you do need help. Like, it's frustrating other people telling you all the time, oh, you need to seek help, when you don't realize it yourself.
Yeah.
And like, there's no point forcing people to go somewhere that they don't feel that they need to go.
No.
So, yeah, but like, if you have somebody that isn't directly there to help you, like a peer mentor, for example, like, just being a friend and listening and just trying to help when they can, but like, not, their set role isn't to help you, they're just like...
So it's not that head-on approach that a lot of people take.
Yeah, well, like, in the initial steps, I think.
It makes a lot of sense, though. I think people are going head-on trying to help and not realizing they're actually doing the opposite. They're sort of...
scaring you away.
Yeah.
But like, it's a matter of trust as well, because what I found when I was doing counselling, I was like talking to someone I didn't know. Like, for that hour every week, I was like, I don't know you, I should tell everything about myself to you. But if it's someone that like who's familiar with you and the way that you think and what you do every day, like for example, like Gavin was Gavin, who can see you around the school, they can like catch up like now and then.
Absolutely.
I think it's a lot more helpful because they can like see you in your like natural environment.
Yeah. They know she's not a robot, she's human.
Yeah.
She's not going to bite, I think.
Not all the time.
No. Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you need to be out there and get known. Would you we'll edit that. You had a question?
I just think it's important to sort of change the mentality of getting help, because for me, I got help with like more mental stuff. Like, I saw a counsellor and I talked about what was difficult in my life and my family, but I never got like help with studying because I didn't really need it until a point when I did need it, and then I saw it as like something shameful to ask for help with that, because it seemed like something that I should be able to handle. And I think a lot of people really sees it that way, maybe especially the older students, that they've been here for so long and they've done so well. Why would you need help now?
I'm in my third year and I'm going to go to Mrs. Gavin now.
Yeah, but that's what I did.
So you're saying, Mrs. Gavin, it's never too late. No matter what year you are, ask for help.
And I think it's important for me to hear this, because then you think, well, where do we need to put that study skill support in? Because we, in gymnasium, you wrongly sometimes assume that all of these skills are already ingrained into your education before. But also it's a big step from Grundschule to gymnasium, and I think with this school, the strength of this school is its diversity. Students from all over Sweden, all over the world, and the same with the teachers, and that's a strength. But it also means that you're coming from so many different systems. and we can't assume that you've had the same education throughout because you haven't.
Mm.
So that the time in the first year is really, really important. But then what we teach you, and then getting you to actually do it, that's something I haven't yet got an answer to.
It was a very difficult time of life. There are a lot of matters that sort of affect people. So in a way, it's a very fine balance in between teaching students how to do things, how to study, and also to get them to do it and to help them with other mental stuff that's happening. You're growing up. It's a very difficult time.
It's like learning how to juggle. I don't know if you've ever had anyone try to teach you.
Yes.
I'm
I
terrible.
still can't do that.
I'll try, and I can't. I could get two, but all I feel like I'm doing is just going like this. I'm not, But it's not easy. Juggling, like you said, all the different things in your personal life, friends, family. I mean, even those two things, could be so much for a student. But now you're going to factor in tests, studying. So I know. William Glasser, and a lot of people won't know who that is, but he's the creator of something called reality therapy and choice theory. Mrs. Gavin is actually certified in reality therapy too, so she knows all about Glasser and choice theory. But he used to say that there's two places where time shouldn't be a factor: prisons and school. Because I think in both, his thinking was it should be more about a process.
Yeah.
And I think in school, when you go into school, it should be about a process of like Mrs. Gavin was saying, preparing and kind of developing those skills so when excuse my language, shit hits the fan, you're okay, you're prepared. You have those abilities to handle it, you have the knowledge, the skills. So it should be about the process, not time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, everyone gets boxed into time.
I really agree with that. And this comes back to some really simple study techniques. Often when you start doing homework, you'll want to read a chapter. And so you'll sit and read that chapter for probably 1, 2, 3 hours, and you still won't finish it. But if you set your time scale as for the next 40 minutes, I'm going to read what I can process in that 40 minutes, and then write a little bit about it, and then move on to something else. That's as much as your mind can take, and that's as much as it can take. 2, 3, 4 hours later, you're not learning anything anyway. So it's not about studying more, it's studying smarter, but knowing how to do that. And trusting that those things work, because I know I've helped some students try different techniques, and because they're so used to doing it a different way, they won't break away from old habits. And changing habits is another thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think there's two ways of working with this. There's the educating of getting used to being a gymnasiate and helping you learn to have a balance, but then also supporting you and knowing on the way that it's not one road, it's not one pathway, and if you mess up, it doesn't matter because there's someone there to help you get back on track, and that's fine. I think another thing a lot of students struggle with is they've got such high aspirations, and you come in wanting the best, the top grades, go to the best universities, and
you're nodding your head over here, Kate.
Yeah, and sometimes, it's not a matter of accepting second best, it's just the reality that sometimes your path doesn't go down that way, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That happens for a reason, it happens to us all.
Absolutely.
Even at our age.
At our age, and I think to tell Kate that kind of message is good, and for people out there, students, to hear that, it's, I think we meet a lot of alumni. You guys meet a lot of alumni from IEGS too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys actually know a lot of people. And I think many of them end up going down different paths. The guy behind the camera right now, actually doing our filming and editing. Patrick, yes, give you some recognition there. He deserves it.
Welcome to the show.
Doing a fine job. He's an alumni. And I think, like Mrs. Gavin said, things turn out very different sometimes, and they end up okay.
But it's like, when you come to, or when you're in education, you think that it's only one way. For me anyways, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I have to graduate and then I have to go to university.
Yeah.
But then you realize, oh no, I could do this, like I could do this
Yeah.
before, and then like you just realize it's like a branched network.
Yeah.
That's,
I hate the word have to. Even when you
Yeah.
just say it, it's like, yeah.
But you
Have
have, in
to.
a way, you have to because, like, or like you don't have to, but like
Yeah.
it's the way. Say you started first year and you started the school because you wanted to study in America.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
wanted to learn English really well, and that was your dream. And then you get to this point in third year when maybe that's not what you want to do anymore. You don't only have yourself to prove that to, but you also have your parents and your
Mhm.
family.
But you feel you do.
You
Mhm.
to feel like you have to
Yeah.
prove, like you have to follow your dreams,
Mhm.
and you have to show them that you are like you're not wasting your life.
Yeah.
But there, I like that you said follow your dreams. That sounds nicer than have to,
yes.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Following your dreams or following the things that you really want. And but that gets muddled, I guess.
But then if you ask any teacher if at the age of 16, 17, 18, are they doing what they wanted to do at the age of 16, 17, 18?
Yeah.
How many would actually have stuck to what they said?
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's quite difficult to get into a
Yeah,
head of an 18-year-old.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
But
yeah.
would you say, Kate, that it's important for when you're a student at any age to have some kind of positive direction? It doesn't matter what it is, but like something that gives you a sense of, okay, I'm moving towards something that I think is worthwhile and I think is special for me. Do you think that's kind of something that's hard? Is it hard for students that don't have that, if they don't have that sense of direction?
Well, sometimes you might get thrown off your track, but I think like having like a role model or like some sort of person that you think, oh, right, I'd like to be that person.
Yeah.
Like I think that's really, really important
Yeah.
because like you could always think of yourself like, oh, what would that person do in this situation, or
Yeah.
like how can I make this better in order
Yeah.
to get where I want to be.
And you can learn different things from
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think I think it's like overcoming that fear of failing. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
Because you always have that like, oh no, it won't turn out the way I planned. What will I do then? Like there's that like anxiety that you won't be your best. And
What do you think students do that you see, Kate, when they're really afraid of failing? How do a lot of students end up dealing with that? And maybe Mrs. Gavin can hit on it after you.
well, I don't know. I've just seen that like a lot of people might be perfectionists, and then they get really frustrated when things don't go the way they want them to.
Mm.
But like, you know, anything in life, like it never turns out the way you planned. Like it's not a set formula. But I guess finding alternative ways of doing it would probably be the most like realistic way of coming around.
Even knowing that there are alternatives.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you know, listening, I think is important.
Okay. What do you think, Mrs. Gavin? Because I think that fear of failure, you were talking about that a bit too, the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes down to what you want to achieve it for, or who you want to achieve it for. This is something that you mentioned. You don't want to let parents down, you don't want to let friends down. You've got this set goal that you've set yourself at the age of 16, 15, and you're going to change your mind and letting everyone down. Well, who are you doing it for? You know, who are you doing your IB for?
Yeah, myself.
Yeah.
Good.
Right answer.
Yes.
Okay, but it's amazing how many will say differently. I'm doing it because this is what I wanted to do when I was 15 and my parents want to do it, and this is what I think I should be doing. I'm good at maths, so I need to study maths. Well, you might actually want to study languages. For me, I've got a really inspirational friend she's a researcher in the States, and she is an amazing linguist. She got straight A's in languages, incredibly intelligent woman. And her weakness was maths and science, so she studied maths and science at college and then became a scientific researcher.
Oh wow.
And it would have been, you know, her path should have been, as far as everyone was telling her, to go language based.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She went in a different direction, and she now uses all the skills that she's got to do the job she does, which is research for help researching diabetes. So she's doing a lot of good for other people. But I think the point is, you don't have to just go with what you think you should do because that's the skill set that you think you have, for example. For me at school, I loved sport. I loved music, I loved school. And I wanted to be an Olympic athlete. I still want to be an Olympic athlete. I know that's not going to happen.
You live vicariously.
Okay, I have dreams. But it didn't mean that I stopped playing sport at the age of 18. I carried on. And who do I do it for? For me. There were times where, I felt like, well, if I don't get there, I've let other people down. I don't think my parents ever thought I was going to be an Olympic athlete, to be honest. But
But at least they didn't tell you, hey, quit while you're ahead, kid, because to be an Olympic athlete, you're going to, you're already too old. A lot of parents do that because they want to protect their kids.
I think parents can also get worried that their children are kind of falling into a different path. Or that they're going through a phase or getting like slightly depressed at the very end, and then they sort of mess everything up when they really want to do this other thing that they wanted to do before, when maybe in reality they are changing their minds a little bit, or maybe it's true, maybe they will go back to what they want to do before. But maybe to get off track is completely necessary for them to at the end be happy in what it is that they want to do. So I just think that relieving pressure from parents or by parents' work, all of that is good, but not. Then again, pressure is essential, so there's a very fine balance.
Yeah.
But then a lot of parents want their children to achieve what they did when they were younger, and that's an additional pressure that children.
I think it's I think it's one of those topics that we could we could discuss forever because it is. And I think it's the reason I wanted this to be the first topic, because I think it kind of introduces in my mind the idea that there's so many different things that come up for students and for young people, especially in schools. I think it is sort of like a microcosm of society in the world, and there's a lot of issues that come up. So that's why I thought this would be a great first episode to kind of get into gear about what happens in school, what students are facing, and the people at schools that are trying to help make a difference. Because I'll tell you, I have 3 kids at school right now. Mrs. Gavin has 2 kids at school, and we put a lot of trust in the staff there. They spend a lot of time with our kids, don't they? Quite a lot of hours. So, but I wanted to thank our guests today, Mrs. Gavin and Kate. Maybe we could give a little feedback. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed the first episode of Chat with Maier, where we discussed challenges in school, problems in school. We want your comments. We want to hear what you think. We want your opinions. So please check in with us, send us some comments, send us some questions. Our very next episode, we are going to be following up and specifically addressing all the questions and comments that you raise. So we want your comments to get out there. We want this to become a dialogue between us and you. And I think we all get a lot more from that when we end up bringing it to the table together. So send us your comments, send us your questions. We really want to hear from you. We'd also love to hear what ideas you have as far as topics. What kind of things would you want to hear about? Who would you want on the show? What kind of guests would you want to see on the show and hear from? So, send us your ideas, send us your comments and questions about our episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.